Right guys, quick one here, but this should be called out because while I'm no fan of Boris Johnson these days, I am a fan of being straight with people and about them. Yes, Boris is a grade A wanker, that obviously goes without saying at this point, but Breitbart have singled him out in this interview, I will show you in a minute, as terrible for saying Biden's a breath of fresh air. Yes, it is a laughably stupid statement to make. Biden is a bag of hot air that literally doesn't know his arsehole from his ear-roll. There's nothing fresh about him, he's as dusty as an old fanny and about as useful as one at the end of the day. We all know this, and the never-ending brain farts that he gives us should prove that to absolutely anyone. Now, what I want to focus on is the NBC reporter and her completely unhinged Trump derangement syndrome that even has Boris taken back a little bit by the looks of it. She is trying to draw him into condemning people and Trump over the so-called riot in January that, let's be honest, is nowhere near a riot where I come from. Shit, pub fights I've been involved in have looked more like a riot than what happened at the Capitol back then, but the mainstream media is the Ministry of Truth, as you know. Boris, it seems, is either not interested in going on about old fake news or literally never cared about it enough to remember much about it because he shoots down her attempts almost every time. The best she actually gets out of him is, like I said, Biden being a breath of fresh air, which we've already dealt with, so I'm not going back over. But you know what, take a listen to this media spunk trumpet's desperate attempts to get Boris on side with her TDS, and we'll go over some of the crap that she comes out with.
I did want to ask you about President Trump. You spoke out pretty forcefully after January 6th and the riots at the U.S. Capitol.
Oh, yes.
Was that a rift in the relationship between you?
I'm a massive fan of American democracy. I think America stands for an ideal, and that ideal is that people should be able to choose their governments peacefully, one person, one vote, by-election. I just felt that some of the scenes at the Capitol didn't wholly correspond with that either.
Well, that's pretty mild language.
That ideal.
People were ransacking their offices.
Yeah. But I'm a friendly and loving observer, and so I just thought.
Would you hold former President Trump responsible for inciting that riot?
Look, I have no knowledge of what happened, but what I think is that, let me put it this way, my admiration for American democracy is undimmed by the whole thing.
Did you ever worry in those days after the election, before inauguration, about the stability of the president or what he might do?
No.
There are reports that General Milley, who's one of our top generals, was so concerned about military action the president might take, he actually called his Chinese counterpart. Did you ever worry about anything like that in the final waning days of the Trump administration?
To be frank, I didn't. No, I thought that, I mean, you know, the polls seemed to you know, oscillate to and fro, but then, you know, the people made up their mind.
People here perceive you as kind of two peas in a pod.
It is the job of any Prime Minister of the UK to have a good relationship with the President of the United States. The US-UK relationship, we are doomed, we are fated to get along, and that's quite right. That applies to Donald Trump, it applies to Joe Biden, but what I will say about Joe Biden, dealing with the new American president, yes, it is a breath of fresh air in the sense that there are some things on which we can really work together. And you knew I was going to bring it up. Climate change, you know, he's great on that. And he wants to cut CO2, he wants to get to net zero by 2050. And he shares with me a basic view that you can do this without penalizing the economy.
Now, we know Doris condemned the January 6th at the time, but her push for him to do it now seems quite baffling to him. Maybe he's actually shocked that these idiots still care about it, but clearly they do. In fact, Donald Trump is living rent-free in the minds of these media spunk trumpets even now, it would seem. Or maybe with the possibility of him running in 2024 alongside DeSantis, they're completely shitting themselves. Either way though, it's hilarious to see how determined she is to have him criticise Trump, possibly to draw attention away from Beijing Biden, who, like I said, is a complete walking joke. But you can tell how stupid he thinks all of this is when she asks him about the general contact in China in what should really be treason. He brushes off talk of worrying about Trump and nukes as the clear nonsense that it always was. Trump, whether you like him or not, was the only president not to start a war during his term, for I don't even know how long that's been the case. Now he talks about the election that shall not be discussed on YouTube, but no matter how hard she pushes, he won't join her Orange Man Bad brigade. Now though, like I said, I'm no fan of Doris, but this media spunk trumpet here has to be even lower than he is, which is obviously no mean feat, let me tell you this. But imagine being that desperate to hate on Orange Man Bad that you ask these sorts of questions to a world leader, literally as your country descends into the shit thanks to the brain farter in chief that the media loves so much. Either way though, I thought it was a funny one to show you guys because even Boris can be made to look good when the media is involved. Breitbart though should have focused on the trout that was asking the questions, not the idiot answering this time. Yes, he is an idiot and that was a stupid statement to make, but at the end of the day the crap she comes out with is far more ridiculous.